Good evening, fellow televiewers, and thanks for choosing G24 to inform you in English. I am your host for the next 13 minutes. Have a seat and take a look at the summary. In Gabon, this Tuesday, the Prime Minister received in audience the Ambassador of Chad to Gabon and Sao Tome and Principe to review the state of cooperation that exists between the two countries. Also, in order to reinforce the fight against the coronavirus pandemic in schools, the United Nations Children's Fund installed rainwater catchment systems in 5 schools in the Big Libreville. This was the summary, the details in a fist of seconds. Stay tuned. In opening, dear televiewers, the Gabonese Prime Minister this Tuesday received in the audience the Ambassador of Chad to Gabon and Sao Tome and Principe. The two personalities reviewed the state of cooperation that exists between the two countries. The details are given by Yana Kenenge. Listen.
The head of government, Rose Christian Usukarapuna, met on Tuesday with the Ambassador of Chad in Gabon and Sao Tome and Principe, who carried a message from the President of the Transitional Military Council of Chad to his counterpart and friend Ali Bongo Ndimba.
Actions we are going to engage are done to allow the resident mission of Chad here to fulfill its mission, which is to reinforce the relations of cooperation and friendship and fraternity which exist so well between the Gabonese Republic and the Republic of Chad.
The two personalities talked about the state and the cooperation between the two countries, which does not suffer from any ambiguity.
You know that relations between Chad and Gabon are very old, with very close ties over the course of meetings, speeches and circular debates that have made it possible for the Libreville-N'Djamena axis to be a very strong one, and as ambassador it is an even greater privilege for me to be able to carry even higher the torch of this very friendly cooperation.
Member states of sub-regional organization Gabon and Chad have maintained relations for many years, and these are governed, among other things, by the cooperation agreement on labor signed on August 13, 1973 in the Tchadian capital.
Also, in order to reinforce the fight against the coronavirus pandemic in schools, the United Nations Children's Fund has just installed rainwater catchment systems in 5 schools in the Big Libreville. The details are given by Raif Lenyongo.
This rainwater catchment system is designed to supply filter water to hand-washing tubs. Water that will allow children to wash their hands on a regular basis and to wash their hands regularly and thus comply with the hygiene instructions relating to the fight against COVID-19.
This is a device that will allow not only the pupils to wash their hands, but also to supply the principal's house and consequently to supply the school's toilet. It is therefore water that can be used for other tasks.
For the United Nations, the fight against COVID-19 continues, and this involves putting in place the appropriate mechanisms. In addition to hygiene, other problems such as insecurity in the vicinity of schools is a major challenge, particularly at the public school in Capest areas.
COVID-19 has introduced a new paradigm and an important need to ensure hygiene and an important need to wash hands. And this is especially important for children who, in most cases, do not get sick but can infect others.
According to UNICEF, this operation to install rainwater catchment systems will extend to the interior of the country.
From education, we move to society as the Monaco neighborhood in the 2nd district of the town of Oyem, the provincial capital of Wallintem, is now equipped with solar street lamps, a public lighting project in support of the government action initiated by a native of the locality. Once more, we watch the report by Yana Kenenge.
The joy is perceptible on the faces of the population of Monaco, a district of the 2nd district in the commune of Oyem, with the installation of these solar panels in their district. A salutary initiative in this neighborhood which has long been deprived from public lighting.
The state, as everywhere else, cannot be doing everything. We think that in this surge of solidarity, we can bring our support to this state that has given us everything.
An act that supports the action of the President Ali Bongo Ondimba and his vision to provide a framework for the development of the country's population.
I was also touched, and it is the same framework that I also registered to try at my level to bring my stone to the building pose for this district an act of solidarity which can, in my opinion, help the populations.
The installation of these solar panels also contributes to the fight against insecurity in the second district of the town of Oyem.
We are relieved from insecurity and vandalism we were experiencing on a daily basis. We appreciate the gesture because we know that government should also be helped. And if a young Gabonese from the neighborhood decides to do such an act, I think it is a good action.
These solar street lamps are in line with the policy of sharing encouraged by the highest authorities of the country.
Let's talk cooperation now, as leaders of the West African Bloc ECOWAS have called on Guinea's military junta to provide a timetable for elections that will lead to a return to civilian rule in the country. The details in this report, listen. On Monday, the bloc's leaders issued a statement saying it remained very concerned that 3 months after the military coup, a timetable for the return of constitutional order was yet to be issued. The bloc insisted on the need for the regime to hold elections within 6 months, as they have previously stated. In the meantime, it said it would maintain the sanctions already imposed. Monday's statement came at a day after the bloc's leaders gathered in Nigeria for a summit. ECOWAS has suspended Guinea from the bloc and imposed sanctions on individual junta members and their families in retaliation for the September 5th coup that deposed President Alpha Condé. Junta leader Mamadi Doumbouya has installed himself as transitional president and set up a government with Mohamed Beavogi, a former UN Undersecretary, as its transitional prime minister. Although 41-year-old Doumbouya, a former French legionnaire, has promised to return the country to civilian rule, he has refused to pin down a timetable, adding that it has to be decided by the National Council that will act as the country's parliament. In Ghana, skin whitening or lightening is as widespread as it is in parts of Africa due to unfettered access to various brands of bleaching creams, often blamed on the continent's lax regulations. Beauty standards often promoted by the media and advertising companies have reinforced the bias that lighter skin tone is more desirable, forcing men and women of color to bleach. How? The answers in this report. Let's watch. In many other African countries, the practice of skin bleaching is a lucrative business, accounting in $billions annually. Skin bleaching products are reported to contain ingredients that prevent the production of melanin, the body chemical that darkens skin. One such ingredient is hydroquinone, a depigmenting agent used to lighten the skin. Even though the practice has been associated with a number of adverse health effects, including skin cancer, kidney, liver or nerve damage, there appears to be no end in sight. Pills and injectables containing bleaching ingredients like glutathione have now become the new frontiers for those seeking a lighter complexion. Such infusions, mostly patronized by the affluent, cost a minimum of €175 a shot. In Ghana, the sale of glutathione injections are mostly done online, with some marketers claiming it corrects uneven skin tone, and in October, Ghana's Regulatory Food and Drugs Authority warned citizens against the use of glutathione for skin bleaching. It followed a similar move in 2017 when it blamed all creams containing hydroquinone due to its damage to the skin. This, however, has not stopped importers from bringing the products into the country by either using illegal routes of entry or concealing them for being seized by authorities. Currently, there is no documented data in the country on how many of these skin bleaching products are imported every year and those who are actively using them, making it difficult for researchers to know the extent of use. Even though several warnings and campaigns against skin whitening and its consequences have been publicly communicated, many believe that the quest for a lighter complexion will not stop as long as the act is seen as the pinnacle of beauty. Last information of this newscast before the end, which takes us to sports in brief and images. The Ivorian government has set up 4.7 billion CFA francs for the national team's participation in the 33rd African Cup of Nations, which will be held in Cameroon from January 9 to February 6. The budget has increased by 500 million CFA francs from the 22nd edition in Egypt, according to the Director General of the National Sports Office, in short ONS. This money is dedicated to the travel and stay of the delegation of authorities, technical staff, media, supporters, and the selection of players whose number has increased from 23 to 28 due to the COVID-19 situation. In addition to covering the cost of the national delegation, it will be used to pay athletes premiums in 4 payments, the first of which will be paid if they reach the qualifying standard. End of this news edition, but first, let's review the main summary. In Gabon this Tuesday, the Prime Minister received in audience the Ambassador of Chad to Gabon and Sao Tome and Principe to review the state of cooperation that exists between the two countries. Also, in order to reinforce the fight against the coronavirus pandemic in schools, the United Nations Children's Fund installed rainwater catchment systems in 5 schools in the Big Libreville. I am Eva MBALLA, your humble host from Monday to Thursday for the 7:30 and 10:30 p.m. newscast. Thanks for staying faithful to our news edition and channel. Don't forget, information continues on G24 and our social media. Subscribe, share, and follow. Special thanks to our news director, Alex Ngoy, and the entire team. For now, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.